Oh, it is a Monday, which means it is time for roster rescue. I am your host, Garrett Price. And by technicality, going solo right now. Now we will probably get Taylor in here sometime during the show. We don't know exactly when, but I'm never really alone because I have my guy Pete here. Pete, how you doing?
Hey, that's even more true than you think.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
no
Other
idea.
than
Anyway, I'm doing great. I'm always with you on Microsoft Teams.
that is true. That's true. You can get a hold of me at any moment, at a moment's notice. We could be
I can
together.
send you a message.
Yeah, and then I could ignore it for a few hours and then
hours.
get back to you. Yeah.
This is my birthday.
All right. Well,
how are you doing? No one asked you how you're doing.
You know what? That's true. That's true. No one does ask me how I'm doing. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited to get into the show today. ACOP thinks you're living in my walls.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen movies like that, so it's possible.
Yeah, you try to stuff me in there because
I just don't. I have a newer house.
Son, right?
I have a newer house though, so I don't think it's like one of those old creepy ones with all the passageways.
No, there's a couple though.
There are a few. I'm not aware of them at the moment. You're just chilling in my attic all the time.
Do you have a crawl space under your house, or is it concrete slab?
So it's a concrete slab, except for one area. There is a part of a crawl space. It's like a mini crawl space. It's kind of pointless. And in fact, we were gonna wall it off when I remodeled the basement this past summer, or just I don't know. When you do it the first time, it's not really remodeling, but it's also not modeling. So I don't know what the right word would be. When I did something with my basement, I finished it. There we go. I finished my basement. That's probably the best way to say that. But there's a gas shutoff in the crawl space, so I couldn't wall it off in case I needed to get to that. So I just made a little door to get in there if I need to.
Okay, yeah, that is kind of important.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I probably should find where my gas shutoff is. I don't know if I know where that is.
It would be
anyway.
It'd be good. Do you know your water shut off?
Yes, I'm 95% sure.
I've done so many home projects. I had to know those things very quick.
Yeah. So. Okay. Anyway, surprisingly enough, we actually have a packed show right now. It probably doesn't feel.
It doesn't seem like it. Yeah, because we're being goofballs. But yes, we have actually. This might be the most roster rescues we've had to start a show ever.
Oh, for sure.
I know we've finished a show with more, but so we are already at the point, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, we are already at the point that we cannot take any more roster rescues. Basically at this point, if you want, you know what the sad part is? Literally as we speak, Denise is mowing the lawn.
So,
and I actually typically do mow it. I actually like mowing it. I kind of fight over it.
Well, I was about to say this is kind of a secret by the husbands. Like mowing your lawn is pretty dope.
I like mowing.
You can just zone out.
Yeah, even though I have a push mower, I'm still old school. I low-key really like mowing my lawn. Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, he's on a show," so she like sneaks outside and cuts the grass. See how she is?
Nice. Okay. So only nukes though. Yeah, we're doing only nukes. And speaking of one,
there we go. Pete, you adjusted the volume, right? It didn't
I did. People. I listened back to one and I was just like, "Oh man, people aren't lying about this."
Because it doesn't seem as bad on our end, but on their end,
it's very bad. My bad, everyone. It only took me 18 episodes.
All right. Hey, better late than never. All right, let's get to our first roster rescue here. This is Nick's league. This is Superflex. Is this tight end premium as well, or just Superflex?
It is not.
Okay, so
it specifies right here if it's.
I'm just making sure.
Or not.
Just wanted to double check. This is the Dynasty FF League. We've got Onyx. Huh?
You never name off the league names.
I really don't, but he knew.
No. Most of the time you get demonetized if you do.
That's not true.
Sorry.
That's not true. You're lying. Anyway, Bo Nix, Jared Goff, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe at quarterback. Running backs, we have Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Quinshawn Judkins, RJ Harvey. This guy hit the rookie draft hard. I like it. Justin Jefferson, Puka Nakua, Travis Hunter, T. Higgins, Luther Burden, Pat Bryant at wide receiver.
Ooh.
Tight ends, we have Sam Laporta, and then backing him up, Noah Fant is the other option there. So top to bottom, looking like a pretty good team. Pete, we are first in dynasty mode. Where are we at in contender mode?
Also, you mentioned no picks really until 2028, right?
I did not say that, but correct. Yeah, we don't have anything in 26 or in 27 for the most part. So right now we are first in dynasty mode, third in contender mode. So show me that first team, because the second team and the fourth team similar to us. So they've got Josh Allen, Devon, Kyron. Let's see, CD, AJ, Garrett Wilson. Okay, this is still a very beatable team, and I would argue that our team might even be slightly better, even though it disagrees with the GM. It's partly because of the quarterbacks. That's the thing that's making the big difference. So let's start there, Pete. For us, let's go back to our team. We have two legitimate starters right now, Jared Goff, Bo Nix. This is two solid assets, nothing elite, but two very solid assets. Jackson Dart at quarterback. You have that third guy upside, and you have a fourth guy that maybe will get to play, maybe won't. We're kind of waiting to see. Running backs, we're solid. We're just kind of kicking back at running back, and we're waiting to see, like, how good can these guys be, is basically what we're doing. We're just sitting back, waiting to see.
Are you not worried at all about like production this season with such a heavy reliance on rookie running backs?
So that was gonna be one of my first main points, actually, was this team in general is relying a lot on younger players, specifically at the running back position. You also have a Travis Hunter that you're going to be counting on at some point, and different guys like that, potentially a quarterback, depending if there's any injuries, but you are relying very heavily on running back. In these types of situations, you can find yourself in a myriad of different spots. So would it shock me if Ashton Genty balls out? Who are the other running backs? Was it Omarion?
Hampton,
yeah, Omarion
Judkins,
balls
Harvey.
out. Like we see all these guys ball out, and we get two RB1s in this group, and Travis Hunter's the truth right away, and like awesome. But that doesn't always happen year one. So the biggest thing for me that I'm going to preach with this team is patience, because you could find yourself in a spot where you are at, 4-5 to start the year. And you're like, dang, I really thought this was going to be the year. I really thought that this was going to be the I drafted enough good young talent to put me in that spot to win it all. You probably did. You probably did draft enough young players, but it just might not happen right away. It might not happen right away. So I would not panic if the running backs don't hit the ground running right away. Could be one of those Jonathan Taylor. Like Jonathan Taylor had a pretty rough first half of his rookie season, and then by the end of the year, for the overall finished as an RB1. We see this out of running backs at times, so it could take a little bit for an Omarion Hampton, a Quinshawn Judkins, to get there where you want them to go.
Yeah, I think someone like a Gibbs is another really good example. Like year one Gibbs, he had 8 points, 12 points, 9 points, 9 points, and then missed a couple of games due to injury. And then week 7, he had 27 points, 29 points, 26 points. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. Be patient.
Be patient. Yep. You sit back, you enjoy this team, you be patient. Now, that being said, your team age overall is very, very low. Very, very low, which is good. You want to be able to build yourself a legitimate long-term contender. The only real question mark on your team is, do you have enough at quarterback? That's the only thing. Your running backs long-term are definitely good enough. Your receivers right now are good enough. Sam Laporta is a top 3 to 4 fantasy asset at tight end. So your team overall is good enough. I would be taking a look at my quarterbacks, though, realistically. Right now, you have 4 guys that have some type of value at the quarterback position. And honestly, with how young your team is overall, normally I wouldn't be excited. No, this is not one of the 4 assets. There are times where I'm willing to say, all right, now I have 2028 picks available. Could I make a move where I utilize that 28 pick and maybe even utilize Dart and or Milrow to bolster my quarterback room? So, Pete, let's go down to some of these other teams that maybe at like 10 and 11, there's some quarterbacks there on those teams, but they're not great teams. Jalen Hurts. I don't know that you're going to be able to get to a Jalen Hurts, but he would definitely be appealing to me for sure. What about team 11? Herbert. Herbert's more realistic, I think. Hurts is tough to get, but Herbert's more realistic. Could I trade my 28 first, my Jackson Dart, and Milrow? Might not get it done. They might say that's too much up in the air. That's too much risk. All right, take my 28 second too to get myself, because now you still have 3 quarterbacks in Jared Goff, Bo Nix, and Justin Herbert. But now you've insulated yourself to possibly get another top tier quarterback that could be your new QB1, because that's the only thing on this team that you have to worry about. So I'm pushing the chips all in these next 3 years. I am all in. I'm not playing it safe. I'm not going for the what ifs and the hopes and the dreams. Like, I'm going all in. Now, this team might say that's too many unknowns. I would rather have Bo Nix or Jared Goff. Okay, I'm willing to talk about those guys. But obviously you're not getting nearly as much. I'll give you Bo Nix and the 28 first. I'll give you Jared Goff and the 28 first, but I'm keeping all of the other assets then. So that's the guy I'm going to and trying to see if something works. If not, I'm not going to CJ Stroud. I'm not going to CJ Stroud because I think he falls into a very similar range as a Bo Nix, as a Jared Goff, as a dynasty asset. So I would be going now. If somebody said, hey, that Jalen Hurts could be available. All right, now I am going to throw out Bo Nix and say, like, okay, I'll give you Jackson Dart and I'll give you something else. I'm willing to do that if the scenario presents itself where the guy with Jalen Hurts is willing to deal. So
okay,
I think we take a look at that. I think those are the 2 teams we target. Click on team 7 real quick.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes and Baker Mayfield are 2 others that I think are possible guys to go get. I would talk to them as well and see, like, hey, with my package of quarterbacks and my 28 first or second, is there a deal to be done there? Because I think there probably is some type of deal to be done with that. But otherwise, my guy Nick, congratulations. Like, you've done a great job of building this team.
Yeah.
Your last piece of the puzzle was the running back. You built up everything else to be legitimate contender. And now you get to sit back and reap the rewards and root on a really good rookie running back class.
Man, I was adding in another nuke. Spoiler alert! Shout out Gabriel.
Oh, spoiling it.
Well, he spoiled it in the chat. Anyway.
That's true, he did.
So I might have not heard you talk about him very much, but like, what are you doing with T. Higgins?
I think on this team, you hold on to him. I think on this team, you need him as a third wide receiver to be a contender. I'm not trusting Travis Hunter. I'm not trusting Luther Burden or anybody like that to be my third receiver off the rip. Now, if Travis Hunter develops quickly, I'm open to moving T. Higgins, but I am not as anti T. Higgins as Rich is. I think, especially with him being my third wide receiver, I'm comfortable with him being in that spot, giving me wide receiver 2, sometimes even wide receiver 1 production when healthy, when on the field. So I'm totally good with it.
Okay. And then really fast, I'm just curious with your thoughts on Travis Hunter with this team. Straight up, Travis Hunter or AJ Brown?
Ooh. Travis Hunter is worth more, but I, with this team, would probably be okay moving him for AJ Brown.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Definitely in Jigba.
Rashee Rice.
I'm going to stick with Hunter for now.
Okay, and Lad McConkey.
I'll take McConkey.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, if anybody's willing to move receivers and they want an upside guy like Travis Hunter, definitely willing to do that.
Okay, sweet. On to the next.
On to the next. All right, the much more reasonable nuke sound effect is in play now. Next team up here, we've got. Oh, this looks like the same team.
No, yeah, don't worry just yet. I'm messing up the captions. You know. Oh boy, what is happening with that? Is that fun? There we go.
At that.
That's not what you want.
This looks like some sort of Minecraft something right here. There we go. Oh, no.
Nope.
Yep.
Here, we're going to refresh this.
Yeah, really that sounds like a good plan.
There we go.
That looks way more
Sorry for all your... If you have epilepsy, you might not be watching the show right now. You might be on the floor, so I'm sorry about that.
Grew up a little bit. All right. This is a Superflex tight end premium league for my guy, Gabe. Gabe, let's take a look at this squad. And this is also 0.1 or 1 point tight end premium, so a full point difference, and 6 points per passing TD. So that does put a little extra love at the quarterback position. So quarterback-wise, we've got Caleb Love. I put them together.
Ooh.
Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Shedeur Sanders, Daniel Jones. Running back, we've got Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Brooks, Marshawn Lloyd, Roshan Johnson. Wide receivers, we've got Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Jameson Williams, Jaden Higgins. At tight end, we have Brock Bowers, George Kittle, and Kyle Pitts. So pretty beefy tight end room there. Draft picks wise, we're missing our first and second in 2026, but we do have them in 2027. So our team is in 6th place in Dynasty mode. Contender mode, we are in 5th place. So Gabe said he's kind of stuck in the middle, kind of trying to figure out. Yeah, sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you just need
just a palate cleanser.
Yeah. Yep. Let me just lose my mind for a second, and then you're good. So this team really is stuck in the middle. You're not wrong. You have good young quarterbacks that you can be excited about, but you only have 2. You don't have a third, which not the end of the world if everything else is good to go. Running back is a concern for me. Running back right now, you do not have an RB2. So to be able to win a league without an RB2 is close to impossible, especially Jonathan Taylor has missed a decent amount of time over the past few seasons. Wide receiver wise, we're also just kind of a lot of wide receiver 2 and 3 types. You know, we've seen one wide receiver 1 season out of Terry McLaurin, but it's not something I'm quite ready to bank on at this point. And then we have a good tight end room. So for me, and Gabe says this is start 3 running back, and he only has 1 startable. So for me right now, I would lean closer to this starting to look at rebuilding, because especially if it's starting 3 running back, nobody's going to give you any sort of a discount on these older running backs. You're going to have to be paying full price and then probably plus. on top of it. If you want to go into the season, see if you can get something done, awesome. But chances are you're going to be in a tough spot. The tricky part is you don't have a 26 first. So without your 26 first, it makes it really difficult to go into rebuild. So who has his 26 first?
Well, let's find out. What's his name? What's his username?
Wonder Splitzen.
Okay. Let's see who has the most.
If you go to Dynasty mode, you'll probably be able to see a lot more, like who has a bunch of picks.
Let's see, this is why you're the boss. There we go. This guy.
All right. So it is a team with all of the picks. So they're probably not looking to move. They're in a bit of a rebuild.
Pretty young team.
It is a pretty young team.
It's a very nice young team.
They might be willing to move it for the right asset, because they're not far off from being a contender. So I would. So here's the
first.
Here's the tricky part about trying to get your own first back. Trying to get your own first back means you're going to have to pay extra because they know that means you are going into rebuild. So, Pete, let me ask you right off.
Yes.
Would you straight up trade Jonathan Taylor for your first back?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the move I'm looking to make.
Yeah. No, that's a great move because Taylor's still pretty young, so that's an attractive piece for a rebuilding team still.
And a team on the come up is, adding a steady Eddie like a Jonathan Taylor, because then that team has Jonathan Taylor and Ashton Genty as their RB1s and 2. And they had, I think, Travion as well as their RB3. So they're in a spot where they could start to compete pretty quickly. And honestly, what does this team have at tight end?
Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren. So I'm legitimately trying to say, like, hey, dude, you crushed on your rebuild. You did it right, because he really did. Like, this guy did it right. He's got enough young talent where he can start competing right now. So I'm going to him and saying, like, hey, Tyler Warren could be great, but you could probably use somebody in the meantime, especially in a tight end premium. Whatever first you think is going to be the worst one, the lowest value first. How about George Kittle? Now, that might not get it done. Yeah, that might not get it done.
Ooh.
But this isn't a half tight end premium. This is a full point tight end premium. So with that, I feel like teams are going to be very, very eager to get themselves a legitimate tight end. And I think George Kittle gets you that. So do I think you get it 1-for-1? Maybe not. But you could toss in a little something. Like, who do we have at receiver?
Like a Higgins?
You could do maybe a Higgins, although you probably just use your 201, 202 to get him. So I don't know. I'd be more interested in selling like a little bit. Oh, yeah, and it's start 2 tight ends. I missed that.
And then you have Kyle Pitts.
If it's start 2 tight ends, he'll do it straight up. George Kittle in a 2-point tight end premium where he's got to start 2 tight ends. Yeah, George Kittle's absolutely worth a first. It might not even have to be his worst one now.
Can I ask you a preposterous question?
Preposterize away.
How many 26 firsts would you need back for Brock Bowers in this league?
Oh, jeez. I would need an absurd amount.
Like, is this like 5?
It's like bordering on 5, honestly. Like,
in a 4-2 tight end.
Right, because there's just not enough tight ends to go around. Like
12 team too. That's usually like a 10 team format.
Right. Yeah, 12 team start 2. I mean, how many picks does that guy have?
He has 8 for 26 firsts. Let's see. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Jeez. Yeah, I would be like, hey, Give me 6 firsts, including my own, and I'll give you Jonathan Taylor and Brock Bowers. Just see.
But would you recommend, like, would you do that?
I would do that because with how many starting spots this guy needs, when you're starting, you have to start 3 running backs, and then there's flex on top of it. You're going to have to start 2 tight ends. 1 tight end doesn't get it done. So I'm probably doing that, and I'm also trading George Kittle. Like, I'm going to trade George Kittle on top of it. I'll keep Kyle Pitts and just hope for the upside. And then I'm just going to try to own these next 2 classes. I'm going to try to have every pick that I can possibly get in 26 and 27. I'd prefer them to be more in 27, honestly, than 26 because I think it's a better class. But this guy right now has all of the quarterbacks, or all of the picks. But I would honestly tell him, like, hey, this could change really fast. You could still have 2 firsts in next year's class, but add Brock Bowers and Jonathan Taylor to your team. Like, I'd be willing to do that. Now, I'm not selling Brock Bowers cheap, though. This is arguably, I would argue, this might sound crazy, but in a start 2 tight end where they're worth 2 full PPR points, I think he's the 1-1.
Oh, yeah. So this begs the question, though, Garrett. Are you just trying to build around, like, is he a good enough piece in this league that you can just, like, build around him and, like, really just trade for
with how,
like, how
many
close
guys
are you to competing?
With how many guys you have to start. So let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 12, 13 starting spots then, because he only has 2. He's got an empty spot at running back right now.
13 starting spots, yes.
So 13 spots. As much as I love Brock Bowers, one player cannot do that. Like, in a start 8, start 9, maybe even start 10, I would consider just saying Brock Bowers can do it all.
Yeah.
And I'll just do that. But you just can't. You just can't in this league. 13 starting spots is unreal. And 2 of those having to be tight ends with that much value. So yeah, I am doing a crazy auction for Brock Bowers. But I am not, like, I'll hold on to him. I have no problem. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I am not getting rid of Brock Bowers just to get rid of Brock Bowers. But I'm saying, can I get 5 first-round picks for Brock Bowers?
And this is the one. This is like the one league that you can, because this guy has so many picks. Usually we like to talk about, like, how many picks a player's worth, but usually you don't have a
teams don't always have that many.
8 firsts. Yeah. And with Kittle, what are you looking back? Let's say we have one team with the 27 firsts.
I would love to get a 27 first. I'm fine just doing 127 first.
Okay.
For George Kittle. Unless I think that's going to be like the 112, then I'm probably asking for a second or something on top of it. But I'm fine getting 1 there. So Jonathan Taylor easily gets me my own pick back, I think. Brock Bowers is going to get me 5 firsts in a league like this. And then George Kittle gets me another first. So now we're looking at 7 firsts. I'm not looking to move my quarterbacks. I would rather sit pat there. Those are younger guys, especially in 6 passing touchdown leagues. Not really looking to move those. And then I'm looking at my wide receiver core and saying, hey, can I pair any of these guys together to get myself a first? Because people aren't going to pay just a first for Devonta Smith probably in this kind of league, because wide receiver has been neutered, because you don't have to start a crazy amount of them, and they're worth way less than the running backs because you have to start 3, and they're worth way less than quarterbacks because it's 6 points per passing touchdown, and they're worth way less than tight end because they get a whole extra PPR point. So I think they're going to be neutered a little bit in this league. So I would be willing, like, scroll down to our receivers, Pete. I would be willing to go say, I'll trade Terry McLaurin and Jerry Jeudy for a first. Like, can I get that done? Or Terry McLaurin and Devonta Smith for a first. That's what I would be looking to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this is a full teardown, with the exception of your quarterbacks.
What's your thoughts on Waddle this year?
Waddle's a guy that I don't really want to move. There was a reason I didn't say his name. I don't really want to move him because I think he is a very depressed asset right now that has a very good chance to bounce back. We've seen him be a top 10 guy before. So I think there's a chance that he bounces back into relevance. And so he's a guy that I'm not really looking to move if I don't have to.
Great. Okay. On to the next.
On to the next one.
Sweet. Really fast, Garrett, as I get this set up. Let's say I want access to all these tools.
Yes.
But I don't want to pay our incredibly reasonable price.
Yes.
To access them. What's another thing we could do?
Well, we can head over to Fast Draft. If you guys aren't familiar with Fast Draft is an incredible platform. If you love best ball, if you love Underdog, like Underdog is crazy popular, drafting best ball teams all the time. It's a very comparable platform to an Underdog, but it's new. They're still trying to figure some things out, and because of that, you get to benefit. They have these origin tournaments that are super fun. You're literally only drafting rookies. They had a pre-draft version and they have post-draft versions. Only drafting rookies. If you're somebody that like really studies up on these classes, it's a chance to win yourself a good amount of money. You deposit $10, they'll match it. They'll match it up to $50 at Fast Draft. So head to Fast Draft, use promo code NERDS. You're going to love playing there. But then you'll get an entire year of Dynasty Nerds GM bundle for free. Basically, everything we do, you're going to get for free by doing this. That means extra podcasts. That means the app where all these things that we're looking at in here, all of that is included in the app. And there's tons of features that we don't even use on the show regularly. So you can head there, get all of that if you use promo code NERDS with your Fast Draft membership. There are some states that aren't eligible, which is a bummer. Hopefully soon they get to all the states.
Just drive to a different state.
Just drive to a different state. You've got relatives somewhere, right? You've got friends somewhere. You've got a border close enough. Go grab Taco Bell on the other side of the border, draft in the parking lot, and then drive back over. You can make it work. Done and done. Some guys listening in the middle of Alaska right now, like, dang it. That is not that
I think
easy
Alaska's allowed, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea.
Shout out to Alaska.
But also, real quick, if you did not hear, normally I'd be saying, hey, scan the QR code, get a roster in. We are full. We are full on the show of rosters. But you could still nuke. So if you want to do that, you can still nuke and get one in. Otherwise, we are completely full today. But we will still also answer your trade questions. If you're like, I don't need a full roster reviewed, but I do want to know, should I trade Devonta Smith for RJ Harvey? You can go ahead and put a super chat on YouTube. Use a super chat on YouTube, and we'll make sure to get those as well. Any amount, just put it on the super chat, and we'll make it happen. Pete, what's our next roster?
Also, side note, if you just want to submit a roster, we'll get it to it next week, though.
Yeah, you can still do it. We just won't get it.
The rate that these rosters are coming in, it's probably better to get them in before the show anyway.
That's true. With this, all we had to do was say, like, hey, we're just going to do it once a week, and now everybody's like, get them all in.
Yep. Supply and demand.
That's right.
Okay, on to the next one. Nicholas,
Saint Nick. He said, I had a terrible startup draft 2 seasons ago. Last place year 1, third place year 2. My running back room is a mess and need help figuring out the next steps to continue competing. So Superflex tight end premium team, Josh Allen, Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson at quarterback. Running backs, we have Chase Brown, Trey Benson, Dylan Sampson, J.K. Dobbins. At wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jamison Williams, Khalil Shakir. And then at tight end, Dalton Kincaid, Jonnu Smith, and that's about it. We have our 26 first, 27 first, as well as our seconds. So with that, Pete, we are currently in 7th place in Dynasty mode, but in contender mode, we are in 10th. We are in 10th. So question is, do we think, because I know the question was, how do I figure out the next steps to continue competing? The question is, was last year's third place finish legit, or was it more of a fluke? And I think that's a question that we need to answer. So, Pete, I'll go to you for a second. Do you think it was legit, or do you think it was a fluke?
I think this might be TCU versus Georgia a couple years back. Like, just you have Josh Allen, you have a couple nice pieces, but this is not a championship level team. And I like when Russell Wilson's your quarterback 2, J.K. Dobbins is your running back 2. The wide receiver room, I mean, you have a couple fun names, but I think it's time to hit the rebuild button. You have control of your future.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think this is a hard rebuild. I think this is a soft rebuild. I'm not saying everything must go, because I think you talked about having a terrible startup. I think you've recovered from that nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have Josh Allen. I really don't want to move him. I'm trying to keep him pat. But is there a team that needs a third quarterback? If so, a Russell Wilson is a valuable asset potentially to that team as a third quarterback. You're not going to get a lot, but you'll get a little bit. Chase Brown has skyrocketed in value with what he did last season, and there not being a real addition to that room. I think right now, Chase Brown could easily net you a first-round pick. I think very easily net you a first-round pick. Pete, keep scrolling. Let's, because I don't think we have anything else of note at running back. You're kind of just going to have to sit pat there. But wide receiver-wise, I'm holding on to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm holding on to Marvin Harrison Jr. But I am strongly considering moving Khalil Shakir and Jamison Williams. Neither one of them are going to get you a crazy high asset, but they are going to get you something. And maybe to the right team, you could combine both of those guys and get yourself a first-round pick. It would be tight, and it would probably have to be a further out, maybe even 2028. But if somebody's willing to offer me a first-rounder in that scenario, I'll trade both of those guys, even if it's all the way in 2028. Tight end wise, remind me again, Pete, where are we at with our tight ends?
Smith and Kincaid.
Yeah, so Jonnu Smith, coming from somebody that is a contender in many leagues. That sounded like a really weird brag. That's not what I meant to say. But like I have many contender teams, and Jonnu Smith is the exact type of guy that I'm looking for if I don't have a Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, Trey McBride type player. Like if I don't have one of those assets, Jonnu Smith is the exact type of player that I'm looking for. And I'm willing to give a second round pick, a legitimate, like early second round pick, to get Jonnu Smith in future years, because this draft's already done. But in future years, right? Yeah, this draft is done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We got people like Samson.
Yeah, Samson.
And,
okay. Yeah. So I would have no problem doing something like that and giving a second round pick. So I think you can get a second round pick for Jonnu Smith. I'd rather hold Kincaid. I'd rather just kind of see if the upside's there because nobody's going to give you anything of value for him right now. So you're better off just holding on to him. So I think Jonnu Smith, I think Jamison Williams, and
Khalil
Shakir, and then Chase Brown. Those are the pieces I'm looking to move. So it's not a hard reset. It's not a hard reset, but I think it is a soft reset. And then if J.K. Dobbins signs somewhere juicy, then I'm totally willing to do something like that as well as move him. Pete, you kind of in the same boat with this? Like, is that what you would be looking to do as well?
Yeah, if possible, I would love to trade J.K. Dobbins for 2 firsts, but that's
that would be great. Yeah, that's
100%. Would you be interested? Let's say Team 6 actually pretty set with quarterback, but would you be interested in pairing Wilson and Dart together in a trade for picks? Or
I'd be open to it because you are taking 2 questionable assets. And I like Dart. This is a guy coming from someone that likes Dart. But he is still a questionable asset on a team where they could easily be hitting the reset button next year. If Dable doesn't get it done this year, we could see a new coaching staff in here, and then it's all blown to crap. So for the right price, yeah, I'm willing to do it. Move both Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. And if you do that, now you do not have a second starting quarterback, which for this year is not a bad thing because that ensures that your pick is going to be the 101 next year. And next year looks like for as not good as next year's class looks, the one thing it does have at this point is quarterbacks. So you could easily then refill that spot by securing yourself getting the 101 next year.
Yeah.
Is there a team right now you think that would be interested in that? Do we have a team that like
this team definitely needs some help. Let's see what they got. They got 27.
I would do it for their 27 first.
Okay.
I would try to get a little more because I'd say, look, I just spent 111 on this guy or 110 on this guy or whatever draft pick you use. So I think, and you're adding Russell Wilson on top. So I think you can get more. Like, so I actually, the more I think about it, I wouldn't settle just for a 27 first because I just used 110, 111 on him. So I would ask for more on top of that. But yeah, I would, I'd be willing to do that. So Chase Brown for sure.
Yep.
Definitely looking at Jonnu Smith, Khalil Shakir, and Jamison Williams, and then potentially Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, if the right trade presents itself.
The only note that I would say on Jonnu Smith is you might need to wait until a couple weeks into the season because I still think people are kind of sleeping on his value.
Maybe if you can't get a second for him, then yeah, I would wait until in season. But I would be like me personally, if I'm a contender, I'm saying here's my second round pick. Like I want Jonnu Smith on my team.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, that would work. But maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Nick, best of luck, my friend. And quick reminder, if you guys are watching right now, we've been pretty steady at 75 to 85 people the entire show. But yet we have only 14 people that have liked it. So if you could go and hit the like button for me, greatly appreciate that. We want more people to keep finding our content, keep finding our shows. We love doing the live streams. We love interacting with you guys. And speaking of interacting, Caleb, he put a little super chat in there. So let's get to this trade question. Speaking of soft rebuild as well, he's in a soft rebuild in this 10-team Superflex 0.75 tight end premium. He has Rasheed, Rome, Addison, and JMO, and then dart throws. Do I bundle Jamison Williams and Addison to get elite upside? For me, yes. I think both of these guys are really nice as wide receiver 3 options on a contending team. Maybe even more of a 4 for JMO, but definitely wide receiver 2 to 3 for Jordan Addison, more 3 to 4 for JMO. But I need to get me a much higher floor player that also still has a good ceiling. So if I have the opportunity to bundle both of those guys, because in a 10 team, Rasheed and Rome are not getting it done in a 10 teamer. 14 team, you feel really good about it. So it's just the scarcity of the position. Wide receiver is not that scarce in a 10 team. It is not hard to get a JMO. It's not hard to get an Addison in a 10 teamer. So if somebody is willing to take on both of those assets and give you a higher upside, higher floor type of player, I'm definitely willing to do it. So does that even get me sniffing JSN? If so, I'm smashing accept so fast. Might
So
not though. That might be shooting a little high.
I want you to envision yourself as the other
Close my
manager.
eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
You have Khalil Shakir
Okay.
in a wide receiver spot, and you have this other high-end wide receiver in your starting spot. So you need two. JMO and Addison would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give up Rashee Rice for both of them?
I mean, we already have Rasheed Rice.
Yeah, but just value wise, ignore me. I didn't read that.
Me personally, in a 10 team, I don't care about depth. I don't. So like if it's me as a manager,
yeah,
I'm saying I want elite assets, period. If I'm in a 14 team league, I'm saying I want depth. I'm willing to give up elite assets to get.
So what's the closest you're going to be able to get back? Like a Jalen Waddle?
All right, let me look at my rankings right now. Let me look at my rankings.
How ironic. I currently am.
Okay. So you're looking at my rankings. I'm about
Shout
to
out to the Dynasty Nerds app where you can see all the rankings. So you have let's look at JMO. You have Jameson Williams as wide receiver 41.
Okay. Sounds about right.
And then Addison is your wide receiver 31. So would you trade both for Waddle is your wide receiver 24. Would you do that?
The hard part is they're all in a similar tier. So like we have Odunze already.
Dang it, man. Godwin.
This might be a scenario like if I'm a contender. Oh no, he says he's in a soft rebuild, so he's not a contender.
Like a Tet? Do you think is that a realistic?
I think it's definitely possible, depending on who has Tet. I think it's possible. I would never do it personally. I want elite upside assets only.
T. Higgins?
So I started to say T. Higgins. The problem is in a rebuild. I don't know that I really want T. Higgins. I think he's a little
26.
Yeah, I guess if it's a soft rebuild, you still have a few years. Yeah, I guess I would. I would do that for T. Higgins. And that could get done. Because people are all over the map on T. Higgins. Some people are really high, some people are really low.
Yeah.
So people are all over the map on him.
Who's older, Devonta Smith or T. Higgins?
T. Higgins.
Yep. By 2 months. No, younger.
No, Devonta Smith.
He's younger by 2 months. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, 2 classes apart.
Okay. Really fast, do you want to hear about, did you see my overpay of the week?
Oh, Pete's overpay
in
of the
our
week.
League?
I did not see it.
I gave up JJ McCarthy in the Invitational.
Okay. To who?
Graham Barfield.
Okay.
Name drop. Who was picking from the 103 this year. I got a 2027 first and a 2027 second. Because it was hard giving it up, but it's also he's never had a NFL snap yet.
He hasn't. I think the perceived value on McCarthy should have got you 2 first.
And I was pushing for that from multiple people, but
nobody was willing to bite.
Mm-mm.
I would have probably held in season then And like as soon as he had his first big game, that's when I would try to do it.
Okay.
But
I
it's not your worst trade. It's not your best.
not my worst.
But it's
not my worst.
Definitely not your worst.
I sometimes, to make me feel better about trades, some little copium. I'm like, well, so I did that trade so I get trade offers from that manager later on, so it's easier to trade with them.
Yeah, there you go. Playing
then
the
I
long
realize
game.
it's because they think that I'm a sucker. That's why they're sending me trade offers. But anyway,
how come I never get these trade offers from you, Pete?
Because you and I are both rebuilding. You kept trying to counter for, like, you kept trying to give me Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, because I'm rebuilding.
My team's worse than yours, man.
Yeah, my team is so old though. All right. I did finally trade him though. All right.
Yep.
William. We've got William here. He has the 103, 110, and a 26.
He's being offered this.
Oh, yeah.
This is not what he has.
For Brees and Rice. Feels a little light. What should I go for? But I could move the 103 in another trade for 105 and 206. So I would say 103. So wait. In one, I'm a little confused because in one sense he's being offered the 103, but then in the next trade he could move the 103. So I'm assuming he's saying he would make the trade. Mm-hmm. Does he have the 103 right now?
I can double check. No, he does not have the 103.
Okay, so he doesn't have any picks. So he's saying he would make this trade and then make another trade.
Yes,
basically what he said.
The double deal.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So for William here, I would say 103 for Brees is close. Probably it would be 103 and the 2026 second is probably about what you would pay for Brees at this point because his value's dropped. 110 for Rashee Rice. It's probably also about right, but I agree. Overall, this trade does feel a little light.
I am also really confused because he does not have Hall or Rice on this team.
Man, this is a confusing trade.
It's the league name, and so shot in the dark, William. If you're watching right now, please.
Yeah, if you're watching, help us out here because I am a little confused. And we're 100% sure this is correct league with William.
Fort Myers, William.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Should we just do the roster and treat it as such?
All right.
Without the trade?
We'll treat it like we know nothing else. All right. So
we don't. Now, so that works out
because we kind of don't. Drake May, Michael Penix at quarterback, Kenny Pickett, the maybe third quarterback. Travion Henderson, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. You know what this tells me, Pete? Actually, as I'm reading this, Tyrone Tracy was probably the 105. He probably already did all of these deals.
Wait, what? So he did the 103, 110.
Travion Henderson would have been the 105.
Okay.
I bet he already made all of these moves.
There we go.
Because I bet he was the 105. I don't know. So then I don't know who 110 would have been, though.
110 would have been. He could have traded back or something, I guess.
Maybe traded it for
like a Drake May or something. But he has the 203. So this draft is still going.
So we're in the midst of the draft. Oh, this has been a mind bender.
Yeah.
Man, I'm having to do some next level detective work here. Okay. So we are in the midst of the draft. And now somehow he has the 203 instead of the 206. Unless he did I don't know.
I wonder if he picked someone and Sleeper hasn't sent it to us yet.
Maybe. Or maybe he just traded it for
Michael
Penix or George Pickens.
Yeah. It's
I feel bad, but like I don't really know how to go about this one. So, William, if you're out there, let's go to the next one.
because this team has the 102.
So it's the draft hasn't happened, but he has Travion.
Unless if it was the 101. Which, if that's the case, buddy, we can't help you with that.
Is Ashton Genty gone in this league? Or the 101?
Wouldn't that be absolutely insane if... So we're going to look at draft
Okay,
pick.
so Amarian Hampton went as well. Did you see that?
He did? Okay.
The one team just had Amarian Hampton. Is this a Devi league?
101's gone. So there's
2 players that have been taken. All right, here's what I think we're going to do. We're going to pause Williams right now. We're going to pause Williams. William, if you could get back to us while we do the show, maybe offer some clarification on how to go about it. That would be very helpful. If not, then maybe we push it to next show.
Yeah.
Because I want him to get his money's worth. I want him to actually get a good evaluation. I just have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Hopefully. Okay, so wait, did we? I refreshed it.
Are all the picks gone now? No, they're
and
not.
This team had the 103, and he doesn't anymore.
What player does?
And he has Travis Hunter.
Okay, so I think we're in the midst of the draft.
Yes, because Colston Loveland, boom.
Okay, so we have. That makes way more sense. Okay, all right. Let me see the whole team now. All right, William, I feel like we can do this. If you're watching, because I haven't heard you yet. If you're watching, we're gonna do this because I think we figured it out. So go down to our picks now. This has been hilarious. Okay, so we are in the midst of the draft. The 203 hasn't happened yet. I don't know how I got the 203. Maybe traded something to trade up to get there. But Superflex, tight end premium. We have at the quarterback position. Let's go up to the top.
Yep, sorry.
No, you're good. Drake May, Michael Penix, Kenny Pickett. Running backs, Travion Henderson, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen. Wide receivers, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, Adonai Mitchell. Tight ends, Colston Loveland, Isaiah Likely, Jake Ferguson.
Did you know, by the way, that we can actually view the draft right now?
Oh, nice. I didn't.
So, Genty, Hampton, Henderson.
Okay.
Ward, Judkins, Tet. So, Travis Hunter fell to 107. Okay, so we're at pick 111.
Okay, so we just made our second pick in this league. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. So looking at this team, we're in 11th in Dynasty mode, and we are in, I'm guessing, similar in Contender. Yep. We're in 11th in Contender mode. So for me, that makes this fairly easy. We need any player that was not just drafted or your 2 quarterbacks needs to go. The problem is there's just not a lot of extra assets here to go. If somebody's interested in Tyrone Tracy, I'm moving him in a second. You're not going to get enough for Trey Benson or Braylon Allen at this point. So I'd probably hold, and those would be maybe in-season moves that I would make. But George Pickens is gone, Brandon Ayuk is gone, and Jerry Jeudy is gone. All 3 of these guys are absolutely gone off my roster as soon as I can. Now, you might have to wait till in-season. To do this because right now everybody's still in rookie mode. People are very excited. But Jerry Jeudy has the opportunity to still have a very good season in Cleveland, and he could rise in value at that point. Brandon Ayuk's not going to rise in value much until he gets back on the field. And then George Pickens with Dallas could end up being a very sexy landing spot. So at this point, I think you have to blow it up with everything that wasn't your rookie picks just now. Now, that being said, I would even be willing to see if somebody loves Travion, what they're willing to pay for him. Because while I still think he's going to be involved in a round by the time I'm competing, because he's just a rookie, that's not necessarily the horse that I'm looking to hook my wagon to in a rebuild. I would be much more apt to see, like, is somebody with an elite young receiver willing to kind of move off of them for a guy like that. I don't think there's any chance you're getting Jamar Chase, and honestly, he's not helping your team at this point. But yeah, here's some guys. Nico Collins. Like, how far off is Nico Collins? How far off is JSN? Like, those would be two guys that I'd be looking at moving pretty close to straight up. If I could, I might be willing to give a little something on top. But like, those are some younger wide receiver assets that I'd be looking to invest in, because right now you just don't have enough horses in the race. You don't have enough draft capital, and you just don't have enough players. So this is going to be a longer term rebuild, because it's not like you have Mike Evans to move off your team. You don't have Patrick Mahomes to move off your team. You don't have like these win now pieces to move, the Jonathan Taylors. Like, you just don't have them. So you're going to have to be patient and try to build this one long term, because this will be probably one of those 3-year type of rebuilds.
Yeah.
Pete, for you in this type of scenario, is there any sort of quick fix that you could see doing? Like, are you even entertaining moving Drake May or Michael Penix? Because for me, I'm very hesitant to move either one of those guys unless somebody's willing to pay and overpay. And look, for guys like that, young quarterbacks, sometimes people are willing to do an overpay to get those kind of players. But unless somebody's willing to do that, I'm not really looking to move them.
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of these contending teams are pretty set. Mm-hmm. Drake May is a hard quarterback for me.
Okay.
Especially on this team, because if he takes a step back, this team is in a really bad spot value-wise, like asset-wise. So I am tempted to diversify with this, but you also need elite pieces, and I think May can become that. The only team that I would see getting a good return would be this team, who has Young and Richardson. And they have the draft picks. They have 2 27 firsts, a 26 first. Like, what are you looking to get back if you do move on from him?
If I'm moving a young quarterback like Drake May, where we all have him in the first 2 to 3 rounds of a startup, like, your quarterbacks that are young like that show his kind of upside, I'm asking for all of his firsts. And I don't think he'll do it. Like, as a rebuild team, I don't think he would be willing to do it. Maybe if you throw in a little something on top, can you throw in one of those receivers that we have on top in order to do it? Then like maybe
you would do Pickens, Ayuk, or Judy. No issue, right?
I would be willing to do either one of those guys and Drake May for all 3 of his first, because I'm banking on him still being pretty bad. Preferably, I'd like to give him Ayuk, because I want to make sure his pick is bad and Ayuk is not contributing much this season. So I'd be willing to do that. I'd be willing to throw in a Ferguson or a Likely as well to seal the deal, because I need early picks in the next few years drafts to like really accelerate this thing. So if that guy's willing to do it, awesome. I don't think he would, or dare I say should, because his team is very similar to yours in the fact that it's just not really ready to compete, and it doesn't have a ridiculous amount of draft capital. So it's going to take a while for that team as well to rebuild. Really, what we have here is we have 3 or 4 really good teams, and then we have 3 teams that look like they're going to be stuck pretty low for a while now.
Yeah. Would you trade Loveland straight up for his 27 first?
I'd want more
he
on
needs
top.
a tight end.
I'd want more on top. I just use my 110 to do it. So if I use my first this year to do it, I need extra on top if I'm moving back 2 years.
Okay. This team has a lot of wide receivers.
The nice part though is like, if like, was it one of the teams that was really bad
with 10?
Yeah,
the Colson Loveland team. Yeah, that's what I'm like. The 27 first would be really high because
that might be tempting. Then
this team isn't going anywhere, and I don't think Loveland is going to be his value. Fun fact: the first video I've ever made when I tried to like do my own content creation type thing was why you should sell Josh Jacobs, because Kenyon Drake is going to take his job on the Raiders. So maybe don't listen to me, listen to Garrett. But I feel like Loveland is going to, like, this is kind of his peak for this year, value wise.
For this year, yeah, right now as a rookie, because chances are he's not a guy that's going to be putting up 900, 1,000 yards as a rookie.
Yeah, so we're looking at 26 or 27 then to have a value increase, which by then would you rather have a high 27 first or Loveland?
Yeah, I'd rather have the high 27 first. So yeah, because at first I was thinking it was a contender, but you're right. If this is going to be somebody that we think has a chance to get us a Jeremiah Smith, a Arch Manning, like an elite young asset, then that's worth it to do something like that.
Okay. Anything else speaking to you?
I don't think so. I think it's, we talked about the Drake May possibility. I'm moving all of those receivers. I'm fine moving Likely or Ferguson. Yeah.
Would you look at moving Likely? I feel like he's one of these players who could have a huge value bump if Andrews does get traded or just deteriorates.
He could. He could. So I mean, I'm open to trading him, but I think you're trading him with that. Like if you're trading for him, you're keeping that in mind, because right now he has very little value. If you're trading for him, you're expecting that. So if I can get a high second right now, if I can get a high second for him, then I'm willing to do it.
Okay. Hey, we're joined by someone.
Who we got?
First time guest, long time co-host, Taylor at My Sleepers.
Not a last name, just the at. How's it going,
I've been
Taylor?
taking notes behind the scenes. I guess the first thing I need to do is say, how are you doing, Garrett? I need to start asking you.
I appreciate it. I'm doing very well. I appreciate you asking me that.
And I'm not going to ask Pete how he's doing. So let's get right back into it. I'm ready to go.
And that's why I'm going to leave you up on the big screen.
That's all right.
Okay.
Beard's looking good.
Sweet. Okay.
Since you've been listening, anything else you would do differently with this roster than kind of what I've already talked about?
I felt like you did a pretty good job covering everything. The only difference might be that I would get rid of Penix. I'd be a little more willing to move off of him for, say, a 2027 first and second for me is probably fine. I don't know if he's going to be worth 2 firsts necessarily unless he really performs well. So if I'm trying to get decent value for him before there's something gets pulled out from under me, I think I would take that from a team like you've mentioned and highlighted, with a lower likelihood of having a contending pick in 27. Like, you're making this move to these lower tier teams in the hopes that you're getting a top 4 pick in 2027 and their second. And I think that Penix might just stay around that value for a long time. So getting it now, you get to pick your 27 first. That's maybe the only thing I would vary on. But great job.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. As we go to our next one, reminder, if you want just a question answered, you can put a super chat in the chat and we will make sure to get that question answered. Obviously, it's not a full roster review, but we can do that if that's what you're looking for. We do not have any more room for roster rescues. We've got a ton to still do. It is, Taylor joined us late, and he's still going to do a full show plus worth of roster reviews. So it is, it's going to be a wild ride for the rest of the way. So we definitely do not have any. You could still, however, request them. They just won't be happening until next week. So you can still request them, get ahead. As you can see, if you try to wait till next week, you might not get it in. So you might want to just go ahead and do it now, but it won't be on this week's show. It will be on next week's show. So with that, our next one here, roster rescue from Zach. He won 2 times in a row. Or no, he hasn't won. This is like an Empire League. So win 2 times in a row and the league ends with the pot. Jaden's Juggernaut won last year, for what it's worth. Jaden's Juggernaut won last year. So this team here, we have Lamar Jackson, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson at quarterback. At running back, we have Brian Robinson, Isaac Guerrero, Alexander Madison. Not a lot.
How good are these wide receivers going to be? Or I guess draft picks too.
Yeah, the draft picks, I think, are what's going to really buoy us here. Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brandon Ayuk, Jameson Williams, Marvin Mims. At tight end, we have Mark Andrews, Brenton Strange, Ben Sinnott. And then we have 101, 105, 108, 201, and 309 this year. With that, Taylor, take it away. I'm going to pee and get some water.
Yeah, you know what? Superflex tight end premium league, 12 rosters or 12 managers. I'm fine with our quarterback room. I think Lamar Jackson and then having Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson backing him up. I mean, we've got, in my eyes, a top 3 scoring talent and Jackson. And then you've got 2 high potential upside guys. I think Bryce Young with the new, having Tet in town, having a couple of running backs with juice in their legs, having just another year with some stability. Anthony Richardson has all the upside in the world. So if either one of those guys can come out and make themselves a viable QB2 who can spike, I think we're set there. Honestly, I'm not worried about changing that. I don't think you're going to get great value for any of those guys right now. None of them are at like a peak selling. Maybe Young, depending on, but not looking for that. You mentioned the running back speed. Yep. I mean, there's nothing here. Brian Robinson isn't bad, but he's not worth anything to this team unless we're going to be like
he's an interesting
and he's our RB3.
Flex RB3. I mean, so this running back room will have Genty. Let's say best case
Henderson.
Best case scenario for this
Judkins.
running back room is you have those 3.
Genty, Henderson, and then Judkins. But you could also use a tight end at 108 as well, since it's a premium. I'm okay instead of having a Buka, going with either Warren or Loveland. I think I like Warren more. But the wide receivers room is actually where we should probably be focusing, because we have 2 guys that I think are really likely to explode this year. JSN, Marv Harrison. I think those guys are undervalued compared to where their production is likely to end up at the end of the season. So I'm happy to have them. I'm not actually moving them because, like I just said, their value isn't really at the right amount. They should be. I wouldn't trade Marvin Harrison away for less than 3 firsts. That's where I'm at with him, but I don't think that's where everyone is viewing him. So guys like Brandon Ayuk, Jameson Williams, there are reasons for people to be optimistic about them, whether it's that Jameson Williams cut off all social media ties or that Brandon Ayuk, once he comes back, only has to worry about Pearsall and Jennings. I think if we can move those guys for anything, as far as like a running back plus a draft pick, I'm down to do that. I think we can contend with our quarterbacks. We have Mark Andrews. We're in the draft. We're going to get Genty. We're going to get maybe Henderson, if not Travis Hunter. If not, worst case, we could take McMillan. I don't think we need to take Cam Ward. We could for best player available, whichever you want to go there. But overall, adding those 3 guys in the first round on top of Lamar, on top of Harrison, on top of JSN, and even if we have to keep Jameson Williams, that's fine. But I think that's where we start looking to make moves, and we got to get, James Conner. Can we get? I'm not aiming for the Derrick Henrys with this team. We already have Lamar. I'm not aiming for Saquon Barkley. I don't want to pay that much. I'm looking for who can give me a good shot to contend, and then if things go well, then I can start pushing my chips in, say week 4, 5, 12, whatever it looks like. But what would you say to that, Garrett? What would you say about trying to get? I see these.
I
chats.
look forward to
That's
Robert.
all right.
I look
go ahead.
forward to
Take it
Robert's
away.
comment every week. It's always fantastic. Pete, do you want to put Robert's comment up there?
I hate this job sometimes.
I think,
but I don't in this moment. It's hilarious.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. All right. Back to the team. So looking at this squad, Pete, can you put it back full screen for me, buddy?
Yep.
So I agree with you. I agree with you on the quarterback, Taylor. I don't think I would be messing around with trying to do anything at quarterback right now, unless Cam Ward falls to me at 105, which I've seen happen. It's not impossible. So Cam Ward falls to you at 105, you take him. That's incredible value, great player. Take Cam Ward at 105. But otherwise, yeah, because I don't think I'm a legitimate enough contender at this moment to really push all the chips in. I want to dip my toes in. I want to see how I do, but I'm not giving up any future capital to get any of it done, because I think the most likely scenario is we're going to have one more year of like, meh, where we're like, oh, we were the 5 seed and we lost first round. Like, I think that's probably the most likely scenario for this season, unless one of those guys and Anthony Richardson does blow up or something like that, which I think is unlikely. But go back to our team here, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be open to moving Brian Robinson, though. It's just probably an in-season move versus a right now move, depending on like how your team ends up playing out. But he would be somebody that, like, even thinking of me as a contender, if I'm a contender and I am solid everywhere except for depth at running back, I have Saquon and I have Bijan at running back, but I just don't really have anything after that. In season, I am absolutely giving a second. And even if I had multiple seconds, I'd be willing to give an early second to get a Brian Robinson on my team to give me a third running back that I feel okay about in a break glass in case of emergency. But right now, if somebody offered me Brian Robinson for my 201, I'd laugh at them. So I think it's all about the timing with him. And I think in season is going to be your best opportunity to sell him. But we have our 26 first. We have our 27 first. So we're in a good spot to still be able to add pieces as we go. So this is a dip the toe in the water season, see where things go as the year goes on. And then if I need to make a hard left or hard right, depending on how my team does, then I'm going to do that probably in season.
So, Pete, can you just take us to the number 9 team there? So this team has Brock Purdy and no other quarterback. Scroll down to, we don't have to go all the way to their picks, but the spoiler is they have 106. So they have 106. We have 105. They only have one quarterback. If you go to their running backs there, Pete, What about if we move back from 105 to 106 for one of these running backs? And if so, which one of these running backs would be enough for you, knowing Cam Ward is at 105? This is assuming Cam Ward is on the board at 105. We have Bryce Young. We have Anthony Richardson. They need a quarterback. What would you do to leverage that with this manager? If we were trying to compete, they've got running backs. What are you going to manufacture?
It's not worth it to me to take any running back not named Christian McCaffrey on this team. Like, I get it. All of these guys are interesting and could be something, but I'm not interested in any of these short-term assets other than Christian McCaffrey personally. So I don't know if that's what you were alluding to, but I don't want any of the rest of them.
Do you want to add to the 105 to get Christian McCaffrey? If that presents itself, that's a leverage point. So I'm saying if we can squeeze extra value from Cam Ward being on the clock, and we don't need him. In my eyes, we don't need Cam Ward. He's great value at 105 in his own right. But if we can springboard that immediately, grab the 106, and would you be interested in doing that with this manager? Because that's what I look at drafts. This is something
I would be open to it for the right price point. Absolutely. But I'm not giving too much future draft capital because Christian McCaffrey is still a very risky asset at this point. And B, I just don't know exactly where my team is. Like, am I really good enough where Christian McCaffrey puts me over the top? That's what I don't know. So for the right price, absolutely. But I'm not adding a ton to it to make it happen.
Is this a team where you would use the 108 instead of taking a tight end or possibly Judkins if he was there and trying to get Josh Jacobs? Because the last place team has Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, and they might be interested in the 108 instead.
You're a little bit more all in than I am.
I'm wondering if you'd be willing to dip your toes in because we've got Lamar, we've got Marv, we've got JSN,
but we also
got Genty.
But we also don't have a second quarterback for sure. We also stay with our team, Pete. Mm-hmm. Go back down to wide receiver and tight end.
Ayuk's not going to be anything. Andrews.
Mark Andrews, maybe. That's the thing. Like, we're okay at tight end. We've got upside at wide receiver, but that could still go. I mean, that could still go meh for us. So we don't have any depth there. I don't know. Like, I'm really hesitant to be giving too much draft capital into the future to get these things done.
I think the one last note that we should probably tie in here is the Empire League element. So the team that won last year is the number one overall team in Dynasty value, and they're the number one team in contender value as well. So there's a chance this league is over after this season. Like that's a threat.
Well, I don't think it's over.
So as far as like
I think
league ends,
they get the pot
2 times in a row. League ends when.
Oh, it does end. Okay.
Yeah, league ends and they win a cumulative jackpot that builds. Yeah, so you might be without a league. I mean, they might reset, but that's where I'm like less hesitant to rebuild because.
But I just don't think
a chance that this guy just wins this year.
I just don't think you're able to compete with this team anyway. So
there's 3 teams that are a lot better
significantly better than us. Now we add Genty, and that is a big boost, but I think I would rather put my chips in on 26 and hope he doesn't win than I would on 25 and hope I can beat him.
If that's the case, and I'll lean your way. I can be flexible. You know, it's fantasy football. There's more than one way to win a championship. Right. I will lean into possibly selling Bryce Young then. That would be my adjustment. If I'm going to rebuild or if I'm going to try to move some of these pieces and do a soft rebuild, if you want to, label it that way, I think I would try to move Bryce Young while he is starting to circulate before we have to see it, because not forcing the move, but that's the difference I'm making with this roster is, can I get something for Bryce Young, and can that help me down the road when now can I leverage him to a better quarterback, whatever that is. But he's the asset that maybe sticks out as like a hot name. You might be able to get more for him now than you could 3 months from now. So that's a move.
What are you looking to get back from him picks wise though? Like you wouldn't just give him up for straight up for like 110, right?
I would much rather have 110. Personally.
I would rather have,
but I'm not high on Bryce.
I would rather have 110 if that means if it's Loveland or honestly, I don't want to get crazy because I do like Bryce Young enough with what the changes are, like to say that he's a viable quarterback, but Jackson Dart has a much higher upside. So in a world where you can get a plus and just get Jackson Dart and kick the can down the road another season or two, and maybe if he does get starts, he's going to be more productive because of his running game and everything than Bryce Young would be. So I wouldn't hate moving him for Dart and something if I knew that I was getting like the 205. If I had to give up something late and I was getting an earlier second on top of Jackson Dart for Bryce Young, that's the kind of move that I might look to make.
All right, so let's move on from this. Zach, best of luck going forward. I do want to address one comment. Britt Dunn said nobody should be paying 3 firsts for a player. And I love that you're watching. I love that you felt the need to comment, but I strongly disagree with this. If you were to tell me right now, hey, I'll give you Josh Allen and you just give me picks 5, 6, 7 in this year's draft all day and twice on Sunday. Like, done. And those aren't even late first. Those are like mid first. Like, done and done, easy. I think Josh Allen would be worth 5, 6, 7, and 8. Honestly, he's probably worth 4. And now that would be close. That would be a tough one, but like he's probably closer to 4 than he is 3. So I strongly disagree with this, and I think it also depends on your scenario. So yeah, I would say I get that you don't want to overpay for guys, but I think sometimes we value first in what could be a little too high.
Awesome. Okay, we are moving to Ryan. 1 quarterback PPR start 8. 1 last season. So this might be kind of a, hey, look at my team.
Yeah. Hey, take the W's where you can get them, my guy. So Superflex tight end premium, we've got Jaden. Oh, no, wait. It says 1 QB.
Wrong league.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, there we go. Here we go. 1 QB PPR. We've got Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy as the starting quarterbacks. Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, Tyrone Tracy at running back. Wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Terry McLaurin, and then Xavier Legette, Jacoby Myers. Tight ends, Trey McBride, Mike Gesicki. And then picks-wise, we have 110, 2-7, and then we've got both of our first and seconds in the coming years. So, Taylor, we already won this league one time. Oh, yeah. Contender-wise, it says we're second. But basically, teams 1 through 3, 1 through 3, almost identical in contender value right now. So let's go back to Dynasty mode. With this team, he asks, am I better off doing a trade or capitalizing on my current roster and using a 26 at some point to bolster it? So the team that's Corey Rants is interested in swapping the 26-27 picks, which is kind of interesting. So this team
last place in Dynasty
and 6th place in contender.
So they're looking to move their 2027
first without any other picks. Yes. I don't really honestly
Yeah.
need to see much more because they don't have any backups coming in. They have Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, Christian
They're only going to
McCaffrey,
get worse.
Aaron Jones. Honestly, they have Justin Fields as their QB2. There's a lot of reason to think that you might be able to get Jeremiah Smith with this trade. There is a small chance. So I'm doing that swap.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So from that aspect, easy peasy, done and done. Taylor, for you though, sometimes and look, I know people laugh sometimes and they say like, you just won the league. Why are you doing a roster review? Well, sometimes we can get a little too comfortable. Sometimes we can get, a little too big in our britches and think that we're unstoppable. So putting on like your critical glasses, because obviously this is a very good team. Like we could just wax poetic about how good this team is, but putting on your critical glasses instead of your normal glasses for vision, what would be the tweaks? What would be the little things you would be doing to help give us that extra little boost? Because there's two other teams that are neck and neck with us right now to win this ship.
Yeah, there's I think the number one thing is roster construction. So if we look at this roster and just where we have our extra pieces, where do we have our bench fodder, where are we churning these players, however you want to look at it. And I think that we won last year because all of our players hit, but we have a very fragile build going into this next year with only having our two quarterbacks, with having truly only two starting.
Well, it's a one QB, so we're good. We're good at quarterback.
Oh, correct. Yes. Okay. So then looking at our running backs, we only have Gibbs, Cook, and we think Tracy's going to be good, usable, serviceable, whatever tier of that, but he's not someone I'm relying on. So I think what we should do is look at our receivers, tight ends, get rid of, can I trade Chigakonkwo and Xavier Legette for a second? Like, can I just get those guys off my team because they're not really going to help me much? 1 second here. Sounds like we've got something going on in the background.
A little emergency.
Yeah. So what I would also look at is, can I just cut these guys at the end and pick up any backup quarterbacks and backup running backs? Can I get rid of Jamari?
Probably not quarterback since it's one QB.
I still think it's better to have a backup quarterback with only two quarterbacks than it is to have Jamari Thrash or Stone Smart or, honestly, Michael Wilson, Brandon Cooks. Like, those guys aren't seeing our starting lineup. But if Jake Browning is out there and Joe Burrow goes down, we have Jake Browning.
Sure, I'm fine handcuffing.
Like I'm just saying our roster construction is that we're spending some of these spots for guys that should never see our roster. And if they do, we're so far past the contending stage. Like, if Jamari Thrash and Brandon Cooks are both starting over the other guys on our roster, you know what I mean? Wrong. Right. So they don't need to be on our team is what I'm getting.
But I agree with you. Running back is the running back is where I'm really putting my focus. If you want to handcuff your guys or a high-end handcuff to somebody else's guy, like, I'm fine with that. But you're right. The running back is where I'm hoping to stumble into, oh man, I ended up with Austin Eckler, or I stumbled into oh man, I got, for a couple of years of Philip Lindsay, James Robinson, whoever that could help me go over the
Kyle Monangai.
So to your point, this league has 3-round drafts, which is perfect. How many running backs are going to be on waivers after only 3 rounds of draft picks? So you're going to have ETN, you're going to have Monangai, you're going to have Ollie Gordon, you're going to have maybe Jordan James is there. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have.
Here's the free agents in the league.
Well, they haven't had their draft yet either. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So I'm just, these guys are going to be coming through. So it's like, get rid of Jamari Thrash, get rid of DeMarcus Robinson, get rid of Stone Smart, get as many of those, even if it's, gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now. The guy, even if it's Damian Martinez for Seattle, you know what I mean? Like, get him on your team instead of these other guys, because there's a chance that they become something for your team. So, when you're looking at the margins, how do we get from great to better? then I think you got to look at some of these like trim the fat moves. And that to me
Totally
sticks
agree.
out quite a bit. It's just that there's our wide receiver room and our tight end room should be shrunk considerably and make that running back room and maybe a QB3 spot if possible. So
Totally agree.
What's
that,
the really quick? We probably should be moving on, but fairly soon. But what's realistic best case scenario for 110?
Well, that's
Are
actually
you
what I was
targeting
just going to
Caleb
get
Johnson?
into. I don't want to make the pick at 110, honestly. Yes, I'd be fine with the Caleb Johnson there, but I'm going to some of these other teams. I'm going to team 11 to team 12 because it looks like both of them have running backs actually. Yeah, can you go to those two teams down there, Pete?
Which
Team
ones?
11 has all your running backs.
11 and 12.
Team 12 has running backs.
Yeah. Now, some of these teams might view themselves as actually switch it to contender mode, so that way we can see more clearly who's actually potentially available. Yeah, team 8 and 9 right there have a lot of running backs on their roster. Would you, if it's available, might not be. Kyron Williams for 110 would be beautiful. I doubt you're able to get it done in a 1 QB league, but that would be the dream.
I think you have a shot at that. I mean,
throwing your 2-8 as well.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has Kyron Williams as my RB2 in quite a few leagues, like I think if someone offered me the 110 and, in our case, we could throw them, like I said, Chigakonkwo, Xavier Legette, Marshawn Lloyd. Like
I bet
one
Legette
of those
would get it done because he has the upside still.
So throw in Legette because to me he's more so just clogging your roster. Like I mean I don't necessarily see Legette becoming a reliable wide receiver 3 for this team. So that's where I'm like, you know what? I'd rather keep Jacoby Myers, which is probably the same production or more, trade away that upside name of Legette, and secure myself, Kyron Williams for the 110. Like you said, it's a 1 QB, so that's why 110 maybe doesn't sound as appealing as people who play Superflex tight end premium because 110 is still a premium pick at that point. But I think if you can add something like that, I think Kyron Williams could be on your team, and I love that move for this roster.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, something like that. That's the type of player that we are going after. All right, we've still got plenty of rosters to rescue, so let's head to our next one here.
I am doing that right now. I'm trying to at least. I am stalling.
Hey, it's all
stalling, and we're back.
And here we go. All right, so this is Daniels, correct?
Zach.
Oh, Zach. I thought we just did it. Oh, this is a different Zach.
We had, there's a lot of Zachs. We're big with people named Zach and Gabe.
Yeah. Zachs and Gabes. I get it. I respect it.
I've got lots of Zachs in my fantasy leagues, but none of them are necessarily the ones we're reviewing. So I don't know what it is, but.
All right. So, been in the playoffs the past 2 years, but fallen short to win the championship each time. So this is Superflex tight end premium league. We have Jaden Daniels, Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and even a little Kirky Cousins over there at quarterback. Running back, we've got Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Braylon Allen. At wide receiver, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Noel, and Mr. Pat Bryant. We have both Trey McBride and Sam Laporta, and it looks like both these guys are in our starting roster spots right now. Then we do not have a lot of draft capital in the future, nothing in 2026, and we are missing our first in 2027. We are second in contender and in dynasty mode, correct? Second in both, it looks like. So let's head back to dynasty mode. Looking at this team, I'm going to start with this. Sometimes you just have bad luck. Sometimes you build everything the right way, You do all the right things. And you know what? This is a game of chance. Sometimes you have a better chance than others, but at the end of the game, at the end of the day, this is still a game of chance. I think overall that is what has happened to you, where you've been to the playoffs the past 2 years, but fallen short each time. This is a team that could, and I would argue maybe even should be, a legit contender. A legit contender in the championship. I mean, you have 2 elite quarterback assets with a guy that can fill in and get it done. You have running backs that, I mean, you've had some bad luck with Breece Hall this past year, not giving you the production that you would expect. But Kamara and Josh Jacobs still put up very good numbers for your team. Nico Collins really developed over the past couple of years. You're a little bit shallow at wide receiver, or I shouldn't say shallow. You don't have the high-end production, considering this is a 10-team league. You don't have as many top-end assets at running back and receiver that maybe you could, but you have a special tight end room and a tight end premium situation. So let's start at the tight end position. So for me, despite it being tight end premium, does he say how big the premium is? Is it a half point? Is it a full point? Do we have that information, Pete?
I do not.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't say.
Not very often is it a full point. It's usually either 0.25, 0.5, or sometimes even 0.75, but rarely do we see 2 points or more. For me, this is where I am looking to say, hey, should I take from a position of strength and maybe try to take 2 elite tight ends and turn those into some elite assets elsewhere? Is that the route that you'd be going to, Taylor?
I think there's a couple of ways to take this team, but the most important part is that we have to get elite talent. Like, we're not making trades with this team in a 10-team league to make improvements. We're making these trades to secure elite fantasy producers. Like, that's the difference in my mind. So when we're going into it, you're saying giving up Laporta. I mean, I guess I shouldn't speak for you. I'm giving up Laporta out of these 2. I'm keeping
that's
McBride.
what I'd be looking to do. Yep.
So assuming that I'm gonna move him, I want to make sure that I'm getting elite production back for him, and I'm getting something worth a dynasty value. So to that point, the number 4 team, Pete, has quite a bit of depth at wide receiver, and they have Devontae Adams. So now, if I'm looking to move Sam Laporta, I'm not at all saying Laporta and Adams are the same value. But if I can get Devontae Adams, I know I'm getting an elite production player in my starting lineup. So what do I need to get for dynasty value to make that make sense? And that's where I would start this discussion, is can I identify players like Adams, like Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, guys who might be worth not as much in dynasty value, but when we're flipping them, we're knowing that we're getting that elite production. Because I'm not getting rid of Sam Laporta right now just to get rid of Sam Laporta. Like, I don't want to get a future first and Jonnu Smith for Laporta. That's not what I'm looking for. Like, we're not getting rid of him. We're more so looking to like cash him in, if that's an easier way to put it.
So it's interesting that that's the route you went, because I actually like it, but that is not the route that I was originally thinking. But I like that route, and I think that's a very legitimate possibility. But Pete, go back to our team and specifically our wide receivers. So right now, we actually, for a 10-team league, have a lot of depth at wide receiver. I would be looking to say, okay, Sam Laporta plus Devonta Smith or plus George Pickens equals what receiver? Like, that's kind of the route I'm looking to go. So I think you can trade him for multiple older assets that can help us win this year. But in 10-team, I also don't need a crazy amount of depth. So I would love to take an already existing position and pair Sam Laporta to them and upgrade that into a special player. That would be the route that I would personally be looking to go. But I would have no problem doing what you said is, go to some of the aging assets and trying to get multiple of those as well. I'd be fine with that too.
Do you see Alvin Kamara as a locked in top 15 running back in a,
I think so.
PPR, like a regular PPR, nothing, no tiered PPR, but like looking at this team, we got Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, Kamara. Is Kamara a plus starter for us? Like, are we gaining on our league mates by having him in our flex spot?
I think so, yeah.
So Devonta Smith is our weak point. Is that fair to say? That
I
looking
think
at
so.
our roster,
I think
and
that's
Jalen Waddle could be better. He could be good.
Yeah,
he could be. He could be
I
what
think Pickens and Smith are the ones that like I really see as potential pivot points up. Because Pickens is a hot name right now.
Can we just put those two together and keep Laporta? That's maybe where I would go with this. Is can I just pair up these two guys and get someone more reliable for that other spot, whether that's our last flex spot or our first spot off the bench? So, can I trade Devonta Smith and George Pickens for Ladd McConkey? Do you think that gets done? Because
don't think so.
It's a 10-team league. You don't think so?
I don't think so. It's possible. I mean, it's worth a shot. What does Team 10 have? Because I'm also interested, like, our running backs are fine. Oh, they've got Ashton Genty. That's why they're up so high. Okay. Let me see teams 8 and 9. Who do they have at receiver? At JSN. Would you do Devonta Smith and Sam Laporta for JSN?
I would not do Sam Laporta and Devonta Smith for
Really?
JSN when our backup is Jalen Waddle. I don't know if the difference in production from Waddle to JSN is worth losing Sam Laporta. So, like, in a vacuum, I might do that. But with this specific roster, knowing that if I don't have JSN, I have Jalen Waddle, I don't feel like that's a necessity to move Sam Laporta. But if I can pair up Devonta Smith and George Pickens and get JSN, and if I need to add a little bit to it to get JSN, like that, I'm willing
okay. So
to
you
do,
see,
I'm hesitant.
You see George Pickens and Devonta Smith as a pretty big gap between those two.
Between them and
no, between each other.
Between each other.
Because if you're not willing to do
Yeah,
Smith and Laporta, but you're willing to do Pickens and Laporta plus for the same player.
Yeah. In tight end premium, I think Laporta is worth more in a 10-team league than George Pickens' replacement value. I don't think George Pickens is a guy who's going to get me more points in my wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 spot than most people's, second or third flex off there. Like, if someone else is flexing Kyron Williams and I'm flexing George Pickens, I feel like I'm either losing out on that trade or we're dead even. So, when I have Laporta in a premium, I'm only going to liquidate if I know I'm getting something absolutely elite back in production. And Christian McCaffrey's a risk. Derrick Henry is a risk. But those kind of guys, their upside, like that.
I'm not sure you answered
my
question, though. The difference between Smith and Pickens.
Oh, between Smith
and
that's
Pickens?
What I'm saying. I think I like
because you said one deal
like
you would
Smith
do
more.
Hands down, and you'd even add a little bit, but the other one you wouldn't do.
So Smith and Pickens together for JSN is what I would do. I'm happy to make that trade. I think that in a 10-team league, I'm gaining better value that way. Is that what you're wondering?
I don't think there's any way that other manager would accept that if this is a competent manager.
Yeah, I think the reason somebody makes a deal like that is they're trying to upgrade at a position, because I don't think, and maybe they're not. Maybe Pete's right. Maybe they're not a competent manager, but teams aren't usually looking to get depth in a 10-team league. So they're trying to upgrade their tight end spot. So that's the reason they make that deal.
So their quarterbacks, I shouldn't say quarterbacks. The receivers are JSN, Travis Hunter, and then it drops down to Addison, Jack Besh, Juwan Jennings. Their tight ends are Colston Loveland, Dalton Kincaid. So and they have Ben Sinnott and Harold Fannin. So 2 guys with good profiles with upside that people are talking about. So while I'm on board with, like, in theory, what both of you guys have said, if I was this manager, I'm trying to get the conversation started. And if those 2 for JSN appeals to them because they're getting, maybe they think Smith or Pickens is comparable to JSN's production, then they're getting the other player with it. Maybe they think Sam Darnold isn't the answer for JSN this year. Like, I'm starting this conversation with the manager using those 2 players and seeing if they're going to say,
I know you want to do that.
What? You have to throw in Tony
I just
Pollard.
don't think it's realistic. Like, I know you want to do that.
Really? Okay. I mean, that's why we do this, so that we can have this back and forth. I would be sending that offer, but it's good to hear that I would get like, and you're saying it would have been a rejection with no counter. Yeah. There's no counter.
Probably
coming
not.
From that?
Yeah. I'd be looking for Laporta. So at the end of the day, with all of this, I think Laporta's the thing that gets a deal done. You can either take Laporta and try to get some Derrick Henry CMCs, some guys like that to help push all in, which I'm 100% on board to doing. Or you can look to maybe use him to upgrade, because I think as much as I would love to pair Pickens and Smith together to get a deal done, I just don't think anybody's looking for depth at receiver in a 10-team league. I just don't think anybody. I mean, even in a 12-team league, teams aren't always looking for a receiver, but in a 10-team, I just don't see it being a.
I'm gonna just throw in there. If I'm taking your angle, here's how I'm putting my spin on it. I'm taking Laporta, and I'm taking Pickens, and I'm taking Devonta Smith, and I'm gonna take a swing at a bigger receiver. I'm gonna go find
Amon-Ra,
CeeDee Lamb.
Sure.
I'm gonna go offer all 3 of those players and see if it gets a conversation started. That's where, like, if I'm gonna move Laporta, okay, but I'm gonna swing big with him. I'm not gonna, like, I don't want T. Higgins for him. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure I'm getting really elite. So I can get on board with that. If we can pair them all together and make an offer, then I can get behind.
Perfect.
Awesome. On to the next one.
What did you do, man? People are after you.
I live by a fire department.
So this is all the time.
I mean, I just, so I guess it's fire season is maybe the best way to put it. If that's
off season is fire season.
You guys should have my mute button. Pete should have it, and then he can just, like.
It's a mental mute button for me.
It's like he's mowing in the middle of the show.
Okay, Daniel.
All right, Dan the man.
Finding it. Don't you love dead air? Okay. Dynasty of Legends.
So, as we start off, he has a standing offer of Puka for 106, 110, and 203. So we'll keep that in mind as we look at this team. So this is a 1 QB PPR type of situation here. We have Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young at quarterback, running backs Devon Achane, Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, wide receivers Puka Nacua, Lad McConkey, Khalil Shakir, Xavier Legette, Cedric Tillman, and at tight end we have TJ Hawkinson, Ben Sinnott, and Theo Johnson. This team does have the 103, 201, and 211 as their significant draft assets. First of all, the first thing I'm going to say before we get into anything else, we got to talk to this commish about expanding these roster sizes. This might be the most shallow dynasty league I've ever seen. Right? Like, there is nobody on this roster. That's crazy.
So my only thought is that maybe our manager doesn't have a full roster.
That could be true.
Because when I click on, like, Team 5 has a giant roster. They have, like, twice as many players.
Okay.
So maybe we just cut a bunch of players in preparation.
That makes more sense of the draft.
Or maybe everyone hasn't cut down yet. But I'm with you that we don't have enough players right now to really have a good view of what this roster is. It feels like we have half of our roster, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. So right now we are the number 3 team in Dynasty. Contender wise, we are the number 8 team. So obviously, quarterback, we're set. Like, we're set for a long time. Jaden Daniels, he's the guy. Some would argue he might even be the most valuable asset in a super flex league. So we know that we are in great shape there. Running back wise, we've got a player and a Chan. That's all we've got. Just one. Wide receiver is interesting because you have 2 players in Puka Nacua and Lad McConkey that are very, very good assets. Both win now assets that are also good dynasty assets because of their youth. So we have 2 really good players at that spot. And then at tight end, we have TJ Hawkinson. So a very solid player, though. So at every position, we have a solid asset. But how many players do we have to start in this league?
8.
Okay, so it's very shallow starting rosters, which is helpful to know. Right now, we have pick 103. There's a standing offer for Puka Nacua to give him up for 106, 110, and 203. And we are kind of one of these middle of the road teams. I don't know about you, Taylor, but for me, I'm not even the biggest Puka guy in the world. And 106, 110, and 203, while 2 firsts and a second sounds good, with these being lower value first, it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah, this isn't a premium and it's not super flex. So just, anyone who's listening, I agree with you, Garrett, because of those 2 reasons. Because the picks themselves, 110 is not as appealing in this type of a format. I mean, you're maybe looking at Caleb Johnson. If people like RJ Harvey, I know that he would be on people's radars there. But I mean, you're hoping that Ibuka falls to you. Like, if you make this trade, you're hoping that 110 becomes a Mecca Ibuka, and it's unlikely to be so. So I'm not making that trade. I might make a counter. I might say, give me 106, 110, and a future first, and that might be enough. Because here's the spoiler for me. I'm not trying to contend with this team personally.
So that's interesting because earlier we had one that you were a little more ready to contend than me. This one, I'm a little more ready to contend, I think, than you, because it's 1 QB. This is why we talk it out. Because it's 1 QB, I know I have an advantage every week at quarterback. And I think my tight end is solid. He's not a difference maker, but I'm going to have tight end 5, 6 probably on the season. So I'm solid there, middle of the road. It'll get done. The question really becomes, with Puka Nacua and Lad McConkey, how strong do I feel about those 2 as my leading receivers? Because obviously we need to do a little bit more after that, but how do I feel about those guys as my leading receivers? And then how do I feel about my pick 1-3 right now, with potentially adding it'll probably be Travion or Travis Hunter, because Cam Ward's not part of the equation. So we know that we're going to either get ourselves one more nice receiver or one more nice running back. We obviously still need another piece or 2. So what is our future draft assets looking like there, Pete?
We have an extra first and 26.
But we don't have our 27 first. We have somebody else's. And that's the best team in the league currently, contender-wise. Now, I don't know how old they are. They'll probably still be pretty darn
Chase
good in a
and
couple
Neighbors.
Years. Yeah, they're going to still be.
And McBride and Bijan,
106.
they're still going to be contenders.
So that's not going to be a great pick.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm either going all in this year or I'm going all in 26, because 27, I'm not getting a good asset to add to my team. And my team's close. So Taylor, it sounds like you might be more apt to go all in 26 than you are this year.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm viewing this, is that I can come out in 2026 and just be elite if I make a couple of moves this year and hold steady. Because guys like Lad McConkey, Devon Chan, Jaden Daniels, they're great to have. This is a 12-team league. It's shallower, but that's not enough, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like, we need a whole nother running back, which we have 103, and that's awesome. Personally, I'd probably be going Travis Hunter at best player available. In this one, if it's 50-50 for people, I can understand going with Henderson, or if people have Judkins. I haven't heard as many people, but there are some of those. So if you needed to go running back, that's fine. But now you're relying on a rookie running back from week 1 at this point, unless we make other moves. And they need to be an RB2 or better consistently for us to be on par with the rest of our league. So that's a lot just out the gate to be relying on, as far as, like, you know, should we be making moves centered around contending this year, when one of the pinnacle reasons we can contend is going to be a rookie running back being a consistent RB2 from week 1. And I don't know if that's as easy for me to swallow as it might be for other people.
And I agree with you on that aspect of it. It would feel a lot different if it was Ashton Genty versus, you know, somebody like that. Like, I think that would tip the scales for me a little bit.
And you said Hawkinson is fine, which I agree with, but fine isn't great. And fine, when you're trying to decide on contending versus rebuilding, to me, I hear fine and I think there's still dynasty value there, but it's not going to get me where I need to go. Like, if I'm contending and Hawkinson's my weak point, fine. But when our starting receivers include Khalil Shakir and Xavier Legette right now, I think Hawkinson is less of a weak point than those two players. So I would be, you know, I would be looking to shed these extra players, basically hibernate, if that makes sense to people. Like, try to get rid of, this is my take, try to get rid of Khalil Shakir, try to get rid of Xavier Legette. Can I get 3 firsts for Puka? If I can get 3 firsts for Puka, then I'm able to talk about this too. Can I trade TJ Hawkinson and the 211 for a future first to somebody? You know, maybe not. Maybe I'd have to do something different. But that's where I'm looking to take this team, because if I can get down to Jaden Daniels, Achan, McConkey, and or Nakua, and then I go into next year with 4 firsts, 3 firsts, and 227 firsts, something like that, if I'm shedding these other players. So that way I know my first in 2026 is probably going to be a top 3 pick, because I'm taking everything away from my roster except for these 3-4 players. And in a shallow league, it's a lot easier to do, because then when you want to contend, you can just go to the waiver wire and start picking up these guys who normally would get 8-9 points a week, but they're not reliable. Whereas right now, you don't want any of those guys on your team. Like, honestly, Cedric Tillman, the worst thing that can happen is that he's a consistent wide receiver 2 all year, and you never trade him for a future second. Like, that would be awful. So if you can unload some of those guys from the angle I would take this team, you know, I would be more than happy to do so. And just taking any sort of seconds, packaging things to try to get a first. Like I said, I'm hibernating. I'm getting as much and condensing so that I can flourish in 2026.
I think you've talked me into it. I think that's the route I would probably go as well. I like that. I will say, though, there's certain teams where they're just like, I want to win now. Like, I want to win this year. If that's the case, you have the draft capital to do it. Like, you do have the draft capital to get yourself a Derrick Henry, a CMC, somebody like that to add to this roster and make it a contender. So I don't think that's out of the question, but I do agree with you. I think probably the best for the long-term health of this team is probably just pushing it one more year. All right.
Awesome. So that's it. Actually,
that's it. Oh, wait.
That's it.
Just kidding. We got Nuke, baby. All right. We've got the Nodak Championship here. This is a PPR 1 QB league. This is very interesting too, because like looking, I don't know that I've ever seen a graph look as like, oh, okay. I was like, it looks so symmetrical. It's very interesting. All right. So here we go. 1 QB PPR league. We've got Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Running backs, we've got Omarion Hampton, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Jordan Mason. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Chris Godwin, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. And then at tight end, we have Tyler Warren, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, and Travis Kelce. This team does not have their first in 2026, but they've got 2 in 2027. All right. He said his one kind of smaller question here. He has a chance to trade for Besh in this league. Is 2 seconds a good price for him? I'm assuming those would be future seconds.
Can I cut in really fast too?
You may.
This league does a really cool thing.
Okay.
I think it's cool. It's different. So they do their 4th and 5th round draft picks. As you see, he still has 2025 picks.
Okay.
They do the 4th and 5th round right before the season starts, like after camp reports.
That's fun.
So that's kind of fun. I don't know if I would want to do that because it's fun to get sleepers and stuff, but
yeah,
it's definitely a different take. I've never seen that before.
Removes a little bit of the edge for the people that are paying attention. But it is fun. All right. Go ahead, Taylor.
I was going to say I would trade the 401 for a future second. That's my answer. Whatever player after camp is doing the best and someone's
really want him.
I really want Trevor Etienne. I'd say, great, give me a second. He's yours at the 401. I would just let everyone know that now. Hey, whoever you guys want, first person to send me a second. But
I like it.
2028 second.
I take it. All right.
But so Jack Besh, I'm sorry. Team, 2 seconds.
Yeah, 2 seconds. Look, I do like Jack Besh. I'm a fan of his game. You just paid a second for him. So 2 seconds is, a pretty good price. Oh no, you're trying to trade for Besh. I probably wouldn't give 2 seconds to get him. I don't know.
Who are our wide receivers, Pete?
It would be nice to get a little bit younger.
No, because you get younger, but I think you need those seconds. I think you need those seconds in case something goes wrong in season. I think you'd rather have the seconds than having a young receiver behind all these guys.
Where's this team in contending mode?
I hope we're high. This looks like a serious game.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Yeah. So I want to give this team, I want to give Zach a compliment here. I love what he's done with this team because, one, obviously it's a legit contender, but it's a legit contender that obviously has a guy like Christian McCaffrey on his team, obviously has a guy like Devontae Adams on the team, guys that are aging veteran assets that are not going to be helping you much longer. So did everything he could to go in this year, even gave his 26 first, which I would applaud. But he said, I need to be ready when the wheels fall off. And so he has 227 firsts. So I love this build personally. I don't know what you think, Taylor, but I think like round of applause for like this is an expert level build.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this roster. If I'm Zach, I pull up my Dynasty Nerds app every once in a while and check in and just make sure everyone's happy and doing well. And I love seeing that I have Joe Burrow backed up by Justin Herbert with the upside of Anthony Richardson like that. Yes. Yeah. Picasso of roster construction for some of these things. But to that, everything needs a Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
Right? Like nothing is truly perfect. So I like also that they have Najee with Hampton.
Give it now versus a
I think that they might both be startable.
They might
in bye weeks.
They might.
You know, if you have Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey aren't in there, like you might be able to just plug both those guys in and get between the two of them, you know, top 10 running back production for your running backs for the week in the league. So I think we've done a really good job just overall. Pete, can you take us down to his depth at wide receiver? And yes, so I want to talk about this just for a minute. So right now, Chris Godwin is not starting for us, but I personally think that he's going to be during the season once he comes back. So which one of these guys are you looking to move anyone, knowing that we are currently sitting either Garrett Wilson or Tyreek Hill every week?
So you're saying you would rather trade a receiver? Like, so are you looking to trade and get younger? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, is if we want to try and trade away and get younger, because we are going to be losing Adams and Tyreek Hill in the next year or two. Godwin, I like him. I think he's not worth trading right now because his value's not there. So if we're looking to make moves earlier than later, then we can't really do that with him. But going to the tight ends, just Pete, if you could scroll.
We've got a lot of startable tight ends.
So we've got a lot of good tight ends. So that's where I'm like, what can we do with this roster to really improve where we're at? And what we didn't do in this year's draft, which is totally fine, is add young wide receiver talent, which is why I can see the question about Besh. You know, this manager understands you need to have replenishment as they get, you know, tiered out. Then you have younger players filling in. Like, I can see where that's appealing, but I'm not going to do 2 seconds for Besh. That's not where I'm headed. But I do wonder if I can do, do I want to move Tyreek Hill and something on this team and get a younger wide receiver? Is that the kind of move that you're gonna go with this direction?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's a possibility. I'm even considering, like, this would all depend on my confidence level in Tyler Warren. Like, I know you're a Tyler Warren guy. Like, you're all in on Tyler Warren. So, like, I probably wouldn't move him if I were you. But, like, for me, I'm lukewarm. I'm lukewarm. And I see 4 tight ends here that could all have some type of value. Because I even look at Evan Ingram, and we're going to have to update our contender rankings because Evan Ingram needs to be higher on this list because I think he has a really good year in Denver. So I'm looking at my tight ends here, and I'm saying, like, which one of these guys can I realistically move? Because if I'm all in on Warren, cool, don't move Warren. But Kyle Pitts has some value. Travis Kelce to the right team has some value. Like, there's a lot here going on that I could partner with a future second and get myself a very nice receiver for the future. So that's kind of an area that I'm kind of peaking, even if it doesn't happen now, even if it happens in season. Like, if I wait to see what does Evan Ingram do during the season or something like that, that's intriguing for me. But to go back to your point, I'm definitely fine moving a receiver, but I want to make sure that it's a receiver that 100% helps me this year still. Because the thing that worries me is all of a sudden, if one of these receivers gets hurt, I don't have any depth. I have 0 depth at receiver. So bye weeks and things like that could be a nightmare. And older receivers do tend to get injured more often. So looking at guys like Devontae, looking at Chris Godwin, Tyreek Hill, like, all of those guys do make me a little bit worried.
You know, you could just flex someone else that's not a receiver. Right now, we're using all of our flex spots for receiver.
Who's our running backs that we're not flexing? Is it Hampton right now?
Right now, we got Najee and Hampton are both not starting for us.
So it basically gives us one backup at each spot at this moment.
Well, but to your point, I think Evan Ingram, although our contender mode doesn't reflect it, I personally think Ingram has the ability to outscore Travis Kelce this year.
So too.
just based on the way that Kelsey's production went down and Ingram with Peyton and just the way that he might be used and everything. So, I mean, I'm fine moving Travis Kelce. I'm all about it if that's on the table. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but like you said, you know, package it with a second maybe, and you can get somewhere. Maybe you can package Travis Kelce with one of these other receivers to a team that needs it. Can you click on number 6 there, Pete? Team 6. So I would be interested in talking to them about a running back, either Joe Mixon, James Conner, or James Cook even. I'm not trying to go after their rookie running backs. They can feel really good about having those guys. Maybe they feel good about having Javonte Williams right now as well. So maybe they're a little looser on these other running backs. Can I trade Travis Kelce in a second for Joe Mixon? Because I would do that if that's on the table. I would be interested in trying to get James Cook if I can use one of those receivers in Travis Kelce. Can I do Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and get James Cook right now while people are unsure about his future and his contract and stuff like that? Because I would rather have a little bit more of our resources in that running back room, get it out of the tight end room. I think you've done a great job with this roster. So I'm not, these are very nuanced, nitpicky suggestions, but when I open up my app, I always want to feel like there's a trade I can send. And so this is where my brain goes to is, can I shed a little bit of that extra weight in the tight end room? Can I tighten up the wide receivers enough where I can actually get myself another full asset to flex out in a time of need?
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you. Love getting a nuke there at the end of the show. I think that's the beauty of it. It's like, we're going to get going. And they're like, no, you're not. You're going to do this roster right now. So I love it. Cracks me up every time it happens at the end of a show. I think it's fantastic. Also, Jake, I saw you chatting with Pete there. Make sure you check out, and everybody else, check out Fast Draft. You can get this entire app, the GM app, for $10. Plus, you could also win money doing drafts on Fast Draft. So make sure you head there, check it out. It's a great place to go play some best ball. It's like, I have lots of teams and I'm very, very excited about them. For everybody else, appreciate you guys. This was a long show. Appreciate you guys being in here, hanging out with us. We got a lot of information covered today. And don't forget, we are now doing Monday shows. Eventually, we might bust out, twice a week again, maybe in season, because I have a feeling there might be a little more need in season. But I love your guys' response where we say, hey, we're going to just do once a week. And you're like, all right, well, then you're going to have to do 10 freaking roster rescues today because we're going to do it. So appreciate you guys.
We already have 2 for the next show still. So
love it.
Get them in soon.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Taylor, Pete, love you guys. You guys don't have anything else to say.
I like you too.
See ya.